Yo, it's been a hot minute since I made one of these videos. Chapter after chapter, I was just waiting for something crazy to happen to bring everything together, and oh my god, I think it just happened. Something I've loved about Elbaf from the beginning is a lot of these lesser used Straw Hats have been getting a lot more attention, and with these chapters, that has only continued. Like Robin, Brooke, I was not familiar with your game. Let me get familiar real quick. But before we get into that, there's a bunch of stuff in these chapters we got to talk about, and I think I want to start out with the God's Knights, excluding Gunko for obvious reasons. When we last left off, the God's Knights had started their plans to use their devil fruit abilities to get the kids to sleepwalk right off the island. And now we finally got a good idea of what each God's Knight's abilities are. Last video I talked about how Summers was my favorite God's Knight just because of his personality, but his power is kinda lame. Like Thorns, that's it. I still love his personality. He seems like a great villain. Way more evil than I thought. Like I knew these niggas was gonna be evil. This man Summers is like, he feels more evil than your standard celestial dragon, which is crazy. I never thought I would ever say that, but he's not just doing a job here. He's enjoying himself. The kids are about to walk into flame. Mind you, he's supposed to be kidnapping these kids and getting them to Emu so he can use them as warriors.
Wouldn't it be so funny if they came back to their senses while they were burning to death, and then the last thing they saw was their parents crying about their kids going to meet the wolf?
I'm like, Summers, I'll rock with you, bro, but somebody gotta get rid of this dude. We cannot allow him to live. We're gonna talk more about Summers and him getting consistently disrespected later, but it's kind of insane how versatile all of the God's Knight's abilities are. Most of the time when we see new devil fruits, they have like 1 or 2, maybe 3 different uses, but it feels like all of the God's Knights can use their abilities in a million different ways. Like I was talking trash about Summers, but even his devil fruit, activating it remotely so that the adults can't touch the kids, using it on himself to protect himself from Robin, using the spikes as weapons, kind of like Miss Doublefinger from Alabasta. The ability is very useful, it's just not very cool. Out of all the God's Knights here, Summers definitely has the least cool ability, and the best one would probably have to go to Killingham. Killingham's abilities almost don't even make sense to me, because Killingham's supposed to be a Kieran, right? I've never seen it said anywhere that they have the ability to put people to sleep and use their nightmares against them and pull their dreams out of their head. Cool ability, and we might get more explanation on that later, but as of right now, something about it just doesn't add up. But regardless, the state that the God's Knights have left Elbaf in, man, it's bad. Thanks to Loki, the tree is on fire, and the kids that the God's Knights have kidnapped are about to walk straight into it. Something that the God's Knights don't seem too bothered by. They see the kids about to walk into the flames, they're just eating lunch and shit. I've already talked about Summers, and we all know there's a lot to talk about Gunko later, but Killingham, I can't really get a good feel for his personality. It feels like whenever he talks, he's being very polite and nice. We see Summers being very overtly evil, but I feel like Killingham is the one that worries me the most, because he's sneakily cruel. He'll act all nice and amicable the whole time, and right when you least expect it, he'll hoe you, which we kind of see later with the whole Ange thing, because he's being all nice and acting like he understands, and then he just pulls out a bow and arrow and lights the rest of the library on fire. He doesn't care. They don't care. There's evil behind those eyes, bro. Pure evil. Loki and his thing with the monster trio and stuff is still going on, even though it feels like we've barely seen them these last few chapters, but the small scenes we have gotten of them has a lot packed into them, because after Loki passes out from one arm balloon, we finally get some quiet time and a chance to really take a look at Hyrule and Loki's relationship. First of all, Loki was fucking bullying Hyrule their whole childhood. What's wrong with this nigga? Obviously, this is all leading up to Hyrule and Loki having some reconciliation, and I hope it comes with some type of apology from Loki to Hyrule, because goddamn, what did he ever do to deserve this?
Hyrule, everyone knows your mom's got dirty blood.
Wow, it's just so uncalled for. And in this little section of the story with Loki, there's been a lot of things like that, where we're just seeing little tidbits, but they're adding a lot to the history and the future of what's gonna happen on Elbaf. Like aside from just Loki and Hyrule, Goldberg and his shield having come to life because of Big Mom's ability, because his dad clashed with Big Mom in the past. Who is his dad? And when did he clash with Big Mom? We know that the Elbaf Giants don't like Big Mom for a reason, but that was way when she was a kid. So Goldberg, did your dad lose to Kid Big Mom? The answer better not be yes. It better have happened like 20 years later or something. And this is the section of every One Piece arc that I call the relationship building exercise, where the new characters need to warm up to Luffy, and so we get all these little gags and cool, cute moments. Like here, Luffy's throwing hot food on Loki and burning him even though he's on his deathbed. And somehow, that's heartwarming. But we also get one more big lore dump with Loki in this section, and it's the fact that we learn that Rox was basically Loki's Shanks. As a kid, Rox was stationed in Elbaf for whatever reason. I don't know how Rox got in Elbaf when all of Elbaf hates Big Mom. Oh shit, maybe that's when Goldberg's dad fought Big Mom, because Rox came to Elbaf and they was like, what the fuck that's Lin Lin. Kill her. It's all adding up. It's all making sense. This just creates another big parallel between Loki and Luffy. Each one of them had a legendary pirate that they both looked up to, and that had a big effect on the person that they grew up to be. My question is, I want to know the difference of what made them look up to that person in general. Because we know why Luffy looked up to Shanks. Shanks was solid. He looked out for Luffy. That was big bro. Loki and Rocks, I mean, I'm sure we'll see more later, but you really looking up to the nigga that stabbed you? Another difference that I've noticed that feels like it's going to be really important going forward. Luffy is kind of over that shit. Like, as a kid, Luffy was upset because he wasn't able to join Shanks, but now he's got his own crew. He's chilling. Loki still to this day is saying, I was born in the wrong era. He still has that regret. I guess Loki's in his giant midlife crisis right now. I'm gonna leave him to that. But while that's going on, Loki and Luffy and Hiruden and Zoro, they're all having a great time. These kids are still about to burn. It feels like there's nothing anyone can do. The kids are this close to walking into the fire. But luckily, Jinbei saves the day. He shoulder throws some water right at the kids, puts out the whole fire. That's great, Jinbei. I'm gonna be honest, I don't care about these little weak ass W's Oda be trying to give Jinbei. Jinbei got his bounty up there with the Monster Trio. Niggas want to compare him to the Monster Trio, so I'm holding Jinbei up to Monster Trio standards. Out of everybody in the Sun Realm right now, Jinbei should easily be the strongest person there, aside from Scopper. What are you doing? I'm gonna talk about Jinbei more later, because right after Jinbei gets his little fake ass Make-A-Wish Kid W, the newly formed Colin Pirates get pulled up on by Gunko. And originally, I didn't know how worried I should be about this, because you know, Gunko seems strong, but she didn't seem solo 5 Straw Hat strong, especially when Jinbei's there. Jinbei's supposed to be one of the powerhouses, you know? Until Usopp used one of his explosive rounds on her, and we realized, oh, all the God's Knights have the same immortality that the Gorosei do. Obviously, we knew that this was a possibility the whole time, but having it confirmed was pretty worrying. And she got on the Straw Hat's head. That knee Usopp got, God damn. But I guess I can't get too mad at Jinbei, because Killingham's at the school doing the same thing, cleaning up shop. And I feel like this kind of ends the whole Ange theory, because she got hold just like the rest of the teachers. Even though she didn't get attacked, the rest of the teachers got beat up. She's the only teacher that didn't get beat up. I don't know. But she is being held down by Killingham's power. So imagine if when Killingham pulled up to the school, Ange just froze and got down on one knee. I've been awaiting your arrival. Now that would have been the best timeline. Same thing for Summers. He was fighting Saul, I guess. Saul got straight up off screen. I don't get Saul. You was trying to be a tough guy talking about Robin, Chopper, don't come out. Why? You're not that cold, Saul. I'm sorry. Like, this nigga don't learn. Nah, but all jokes aside, I respect the determination, Saul, even though you're not him. Also, side note, just like I thought was gonna happen, the God's Knights saw Colin talking all that shit and they said, oh, this one got potential. I knew it. I knew this little dummy was gonna cause problems. Why did we bring him? But more importantly, before we were shown that Gunko was a big Brook fan, right? And I know all of us were thinking, maybe this will lead to her wanting to side with the Straw Hats. That she'd be so starstruck and smitten that she wouldn't be able to lay a hand on Brook. Hell no. In true Celestial Dragon fashion, she takes this fandom and decides, you know, I like this guy's music. I should make him my slave and force him to make songs for me forever. That's insane, but honestly, it should have been expected. But Brook's response was so cold.
I'm quite sorry, young lady, but from the day that Captain Straw Hat Luffy bestowed me my second life, I have been dedicated to no one but him.
What if I said I would kill you?
I would rather die than live without honor.
Who is Brook feeling like? But now it makes sense why the God's Knights were so willing to let these kids die. They're not going for this little tiny prize. They got a plan to get the jackpot. Summers broadcasts his voice to all of Elbaf, and he basically reveals the rest of their plan. They're using these kids as bargaining chips to get all of Elbaf to agree to join the world government, basically. They want to turn them into war slaves. But you know, this is all understandable villain stuff, but what really worried me is when they started going through and naming each kid. All of these kids just went from being nameless bargaining chips to actual characters, which means there might be plans for them, positive or negative, I don't know. And obviously, Colin is now a part of this group of kids that's been kidnapped, so Scopper has to make his way over there. But there's another thing that's going on at the exact same time that I feel like is getting pushed to the side, but there's actually gonna be something crazy that happens with it. We've seen that some of the kids' biggest fears are their moms, and because of that, Dory, Broggy, and the rest of the Giants right now are fighting nightmare versions of their moms. Funny gag, you know, like, haha, moms are scary. But imagine they're fighting these nightmare moms, and then one mom pops out and she's way stronger than the rest of them. They look at her face, this isn't one of the nightmares, that's actually Big Mom. Hey man, Oda, if you want to hire me, go ahead and hire me right now.
Get the fuck out of here, little nigga.
But back to the kids. Every time I think this plan can't get any more evil, it just gets worse. They're holding these kids hostage, and they're leaving it up to Yourrage of all people, to convince the giants to burn down all the libraries and pledge allegiance to the world government. And you know, there's no rush. It's just that the longer Yourrage takes to make a decision, they're gonna start throwing the kids off the cliff into the underworld. And of course, the first kid that they have walk the plank has to be the cutest, most precious one, little Ranya. She's so nice. Even when she's about to fall, she's still worried about everybody else. There's no way that Yourrage was ever gonna make the decision to let her fall. I've seen a lot of people with the theory that Yourrage is actually a traitor and he knows what happened to King Harold and shit. I really don't buy it. I truly believe that Yourrage is just a stupid old man that got lobotomized by a sword and he really doesn't remember anything. I could see a world where they take that sword out of Yourrage's head and all of his memories come back and he probably dies after. But realistically, Yourrage, you should have been dead 50 years ago, so it's a fair trade to me. But I also gotta give a little bit of credit, because while all of this was going on, Robin was fighting Summers, and she was holding her own. Robin isn't one of the combat-oriented Straw Hats. She doesn't get a lot of fights, but I don't know, maybe I underestimated Robin a little bit. Obviously, she couldn't beat Summers because she doesn't know how to get past the immortality. But you know, she was able to do some damage. She broke his back, threw him off the branch, and that shit she did with the Shadow Clone, I'm not gonna lie, even I didn't see that one coming. And you see, this is why Jinbei is trash.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
Robin is here putting up a fight against a God Knight, and you can't do it with 4 other Straw Hats with you. Jinbei might got the fakest Billionberry bounty in One Piece. And I hate to say it, because Jinbei's my guy, but come on, dog. But one person that we can trust to defeat the God's Knights is Scopper Gaban. He finally gets here, and the first thing he does is chop off one of Summer's arms. And that motherfucker is not growing back. We knew that the Roger Pirates had to come across the God's Knights and the Gorosei at some point, so this all makes a lot of sense. I don't know if they have a way of actually killing the God's Knights, because it doesn't really seem like Summers is dead, even though Scopper Gaban cut that nigga in half. He should be dead. Gaban is so cold though. He's definitely going up in my rankings after this chapter. Even just the way he took down Summers. He chopped him in half. He didn't even turn around to make sure he was beat. He hit the ground and just got the dipping straight to Colin. And something interesting that was completely out of my expectations. Out of all people, Chopper decides to chase Gaban down. Chopper recognized how important it is for the Straw Hats to learn how to take these people down, and he knows that Gaban is probably their best chance to get that information. Actually, a really smart moment from Chopper, and if I'm being honest, Chopper is more than I expect from you. It's been a little minute since we got a Chopper W, but here we are. But this last scene between Gaban, Colin, and Gunko is packed with so much to talk about. First of all, I love this moment between Gaban and Colin, because Chopper has this whole logical plan of what he needs to do. He just needs to take Gunko out in one swoop, then he can save Colin and save the rest of Elbaf, right? But his instincts as a parent lead him to prioritize Colin over anything else, because he sees this little vision of Colin getting stabbed, drops his weapons instantly. It was a really good moment that gives you a feel of what kind of person all these people are. Obviously Gaban and Colin, but even more so Gunko. Cause you see how I'm giving Gaban all this respect and props? Gunko sees that shit and says,
Such a weak being.
she had no respect for the idea of a parent trying to protect their kid. And she had no problem shooting Gaban straight through the chest. You bitch! And I'm not gonna lie, I'm only like 50% worried about Gaban dying, because we were shown that Chopper is chasing him and Chopper can probably save him. But I don't know, Gaban is old. I don't know how much his body can really heal from this. There's been so much mystery surrounding Gunko's character, and in this one final spread, all of these mysteries are coming together. There was a lot of questions about where Gunko came from, because she didn't have any of the saint titles, and she seemed to be very different from the rest of the God's Knights, which led a lot of us to theorize that Gunko was not born a celestial dragon at all to begin with, which seems like it's confirmed here. And not only that, but she has a deeper past with Brook than we originally thought. It's not just that she's a fan, she knew Brook as a kid. And this raises a few different questions for me. What island is this? The easiest answer, and the one that makes the most sense, is God Valley, which I think makes the most sense for the timeline, knowing how old Brook is and how long ago he became a pirate. This has to be at least 50-60 years ago, which also makes me wonder, how is Gunko still appearing so young? She has to be at least like 60 years old. And plus, ever since God Valley was introduced, I've always been entertained by the idea that Brook was from God Valley, just because it makes so much sense. And it makes sense that Brook wouldn't talk about God Valley, because he was missing for all of that crazy stuff that happened. So as far as Brook knows, God Valley's just still around and is just not noteworthy in any way. And it would make sense if Gunko was around for God Valley, and that's how she got kidnapped and somehow brainwashed into becoming a celestial dragon. What did Imu see in Gunko that made him say, oh yeah, this person has has to be a god knight. This also plays into stuff that Vegapunk talked about on Egghead. No matter how much you wipe something's memories and try to take things away from it, they'll always have some remnant of it, some instinctual feeling towards the people that they care about. We saw it with Kuma, and now we're seeing it with Gunko, albeit in completely different situations, I'm assuming. But that's not even the biggest part. Right when Gunko starts to remember her past with Brook, Imu basically activates a system override and takes over her body. There's been a bunch of questions about Gunko's relation to Imu. One, because of her eyes. Her eyes have never made sense. Why does she have two different eyes? And her name itself, meaning army child, as if she was created for this purpose. But now it's like Gunko and Imu are way more related than we thought. And on top of that, I just want to understand how Imu is able to do this. I don't feel like Imu can do this with all of the God's Knights. It feels like a very Gunko specific thing. But Imu themselves say something hella interesting in this moment. The Holy Land is currently in a sea of flames. What happened? Last time we saw the Holy Land, it wasn't in the best position. Things were getting kind of crazy, but it definitely didn't look like it was on the verge of burning down. I think the two most likely culprits are Dragon or Blackbeard. Dragon, we already know how he feels about the Celestial Dragon, but Blackbeard, remember, Katarina Devon can now turn into Saint J. Garcia Saturn. I don't know what they're gonna do with that form since Saturn is dead, but I assume they can use the mark on the Gorosei in some kind of way to bypass something. And there's also the question of how many people really know that Saint Saturn is dead. They could probably get through a lot of security before somebody notices. We're finally gonna get to see Imu fight for real. Hopefully Imu isn't limited by Gunko's body, you know, like I'm in this body so I can only use these powers. And honestly, I'm hoping Imu gets to whooping ass. I don't care if the monster trio comes up here. I want to see a scene where Imu beats Zoro and Sanji solo dolo at the same time. What that nigga talking about? Chapter 1150 just dropped, and my god, I feel alive again. I don't know what I expected from Imu, but whatever expectations I did have been blown out of the water, and we don't even know everything it can do yet. First of all, instantly confirmed conquerors, but we already knew that. If the king of the world isn't a conqueror, who is? But Imu really just showed up and mogged everybody. Technically, it's Gunko mogging everybody, but really Gunko didn't look like this when it was Gunko. I don't know how Imu going into Gunko's body bossed her up, turned her into a bad bitch, but hey, I support it. All jokes aside, this situation actually is bad though. All of the monster trio, Loki, Haruden, and the rest of the new giant pirates are all still in the underworld. And the rest of the Straw Hats that aren't in the underworld are all wrapped up in thorns and arrow ropes, however that works. And the rest of the giants, something tells me they're not gonna be a great help. Cause Bragi grabs Imu Gunko, I don't know what to call this thing, but Imu conjures a double-barrel shotgun from this demonic book and shoots his hand off. This is also when Imu reveals their plan for Elbaf, which is to instate Dory and Bragi as the kings of Elbaf and have them force Elbaf to join the world government. When this first happened, I was thinking Dory and Bragi would never do that. So it's like, how do you plan on forcing them? But then Imu uses another new ability, a Quarrel, demonic contract, and it basically turns Dory and Bragi into demons. I don't know if I even fully understand the implications of this power yet. We all assumed that there was some kind of process where you could sell your soul to Imu, and that's how all the Gorosei and the God's Knights got their shit. But the idea that Imu can forcefully take your soul and make you subservient to them, how do you beat that? The writing's on the wall with all the imagery, with the pentagrams, the black wings, the tail, the pitchfork. Imu is obviously the devil. That's something people have been theorizing on for a long time, and that I made a very specific video on that you should check out. I don't know what exactly the name of the fruit's gonna be. I doubt it's gonna be the Hito no Mi model Satan, but regardless, this is clearly based on the devil. I am worried for Dory and Bragi though, because right now they're mindless demons that just do whatever Imu says, and I don't know how we're gonna reverse that. This ability feels pretty irreversible. In Imu's own words,
Thou shalt cast aside thy lifespan for a body unyielding to death. Under Mu's dominion, thou shalt be granted unprecedented strength. No longer shalt thou be bound by reason nor by common sense. Becoming a demon is truly the pinnacle of existence.
already we're getting a glimpse into Imu's beliefs and ideology. Oh man, this nigga is crazy. I'm not gonna lie to you, Imu has cemented their aura. The way all the God's Knights started shaking in their fucking boots as soon as Imu pulled up.
Is this all your dream demons amount to, Killingham?
Not at all, my lord. There are still many nightmare fishes left. Y'all niggas were just acting all tough, all evil. Now Imu pulls up and y'all all hoes. We also see Summers putting himself back together, so it's clear there's more to this whole being able to cut immortal beings thing, which I'm glad about. I didn't want it to be so simple that it was just like, well, once you get past immortality, they have nothing else that they can do and they're instantly defeated. There's so many more things we need to learn about Imu's ability. Just the things we've seen from it so far, I don't even know if diverse is the right word. OP is more like it. And I'm sure there's plenty more stuff that we're gonna find out about later. Just thinking about it is making Damn, my head hurt. But yeah, man, that's all I got for y'all boys today. Let me know what you think about One Piece chapter 1150 in the comments below. And just let me know any thoughts you had on the most recent chapters. I will be doing a video looking at the comments later on. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe to the channel. And yeah, man, I'm gone. Damn.